All right, today we are diving into one of the most powerful and, honestly, one of the most human stories ever told. We're talking about trust, about instinct, and, yeah, about the very anatomy of betrayal. Just imagine hearing those words, said to you in a circle of your closest friends. It's one of those moments that just changes everything, right? And it really forces us to look at a pretty basic question. How do we respond when we feel threatened?
I mean, just think about it for a second. Our bodies are literally designed to defend themselves. Your eyes blink, right? You don't even think about it. It just happens automatically to protect you from, whatever's coming at you.
And it's the same thing if, say, someone raises a fist at you. What's your first reaction? You don't stop and think. You flinch. You move away. You put up your hands. It's pure instinct.
So that's the key takeaway here. Self-defense, it's totally hardwired into us. It's a fundamental human instinct. It's natural. It's automatic. It's just who we are.
But, and this is a big but, the story we're looking at today teaches something completely different. I mean, radically different. It introduces an idea that just runs completely counter to everything we just talked about.
And you can see the contrast right here. On one side, you've got our built-in, deep-seated human instinct for self-defense. And on the other, well, you have the path of Jesus. And that path, it's one of complete defenselessness.
So instead of using his power to stop what's happening, to protect himself, he just lets it happen. He allows the betrayal to unfold. He freely hands himself over to a higher will. And in doing that, he shows us a kind of love that, wow, it refuses violence. It refuses manipulation. It even refuses that most basic instinct we have for self-preservation.
Okay, so this brings us to the central figure in this whole drama, doesn't it? Judas. To really get a grip on this choice between self-interest and surrender, we've got to try to understand what was going on inside his head. What could possibly have motivated him?
While tradition gives us three main possibilities, three lenses to look through. We've got greed, we've got disillusionment, and we've got a desperate need for control. Let's dig into each of these.
Okay, first up, greed. There's this incredible moment, right? A woman anoints Jesus with this super expensive perfume, and Judas immediately objects. He's like, hey, that money should have gone to the poor. But the story makes it pretty clear his outrage wasn't really about mercy. It was about the money. He had this righteous appearance, but underneath it was all just self-interest.
All right, the second possible motive is disillusionment. And you have to understand the context here. A lot of people back then were expecting the Messiah to be this warrior king, someone who would just smash the Roman occupation and bring back glory. And Judas, he might have signed up for that revolution. But then Jesus shows up, and his path is all about humility and service and suffering. Imagine that. If you're expecting a king with a crown and you get a servant with a towel, it could feel like a total bait and switch. And that kind of profound disappointment, well, it can easily harden into bitterness.
And this third one, it's really fascinating. Control. What if Judas never actually wanted Jesus to die? What if he was just trying to force his hand? Create a crisis so big that Jesus would have to finally unleash his divine power and set things right, but on Judas's timeline. If you look at it that way, he wasn't just betraying a man, he was trying to control God.
So you see the pattern here? Whether it was greed or disillusionment or a desperate need for control, the common thread is exactly the same. At the heart of it all is this temptation to use God for our own purposes, to fit our own agenda, instead of just surrendering to a will greater than our own.
Now, it's really easy to point fingers at Judas, right? But before we get too comfortable, we kind of have to ask ourselves, how does this ancient struggle play out in our own lives, right here, right now? The price tag on this betrayal was exactly 30 pieces of silver. It's such a specific, chilling number. So the question becomes, what do those 30 pieces of silver look like today? Well, today's silver coins can be a lot of different things. Yeah, it can be money, for sure. But it can also be success, or that need for control we just talked about, or comfort, or just plain old pride. And when any of these things become our master, we end up in a kind of spiritual slavery, don't we? We trade away our faithfulness for something we think we want more.
When you really break it all down, this entire story, all of it, boils down to one simple, essential question. And it's a question of trust.
So here it is, the question for all of us. When we're at a crossroads, what do we choose? Do we follow that hardwired instinct for self-preservation and pick our own self-interest? Or are we willing to take that other path, the one that looks like defenselessness, the one that's all about humble trust? And really, that's the challenge this incredible story leaves us with.